Good evening. Welcome to the Derry Town Council Budget Workshop for April 11th. Can we all stand for the pledge? Council Katsoukaris, please lead us.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Council Chiricello.
Good evening.
Council Spencer.
Good evening.
Council Katsoukaris. Council Flood.
Good evening.
Council Granessi.
Good evening.
Council McEachern.
Hello.
And good evening from the chair. Let's start off with old business, 23-22, resolution 2023-021. Half Meadowbrook Road. Tom Carey is presenting.
I don't see him, but if I can pick up on that, this is the issue which we're attempting to purchase a piece of land and combine it with another town-owned piece of prop, which would allow us to maximize the town's return. Under state statute, the council has had 2 public hearings. State law also requires the council cannot take action until 7 days has passed since the last public hearing. Therefore, requesting the council consider adopting resolution 2023-021.
So moved.
Any questions? No? Somebody want to read the motion?
Is it in our package?
Yep, it's in the,
And I will read it. Resolution number 2023-021 to authorize purchase of 6.5 Meadowbrook Lane, whereas Section 5.1 of the Town Charter designates the Town Council as the governing and legislative body of the town, and as such, it is empowered to purchase real property for the benefit of the town and to appropriate funds for such purpose. And whereas the Town Council previously authorized the sale of 23 Adams Pond Road under Resolution 21036 as being surplus to the town's needs, and whereas in order to maximize the return to the town, there is a need to purchase 6.5 Meadowbrook Road, and whereas sufficient funds are available in the Water Division's FY23 budget to fund the purchase, now therefore be it resolved in council that the town administrator is hereby authorized to execute all necessary documents, take appropriate actions for the purchase of 9.5 acres at 6.5 Meadowbrook Road from Deborah Ruffner for the sale in the amount of $20,000. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage, adopted April 11, 2023.
Second.
okay, motion by Council McEachern, seconded by Council Katsoukaris. On the motion, Council Chiricello.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Clerk Flood.
Yes.
Council Granessi.
Yes.
McEachern. Yep. Chair votes yes. Motion passes 7-0. Now it's the budget workshop, the FY24. Executive and finance this evening. First up will be the executive.
Good evening. First, you have a sheet that looks like this.
Yes.
As you recall, the last meeting, we notified the council that the increase in the health insurance rate had dropped significantly. So our CFO has prepared this, which shows the new revised number for each of these budgets. And what the council's done in the past is, after fielding questions, typically the council makes a motion to preliminary adopt these department budgets one by one, and then at the end of the process, then you take a formal vote in May to formalize the budget process. But the first slide. Here we go. You see next one, good, the executive, the administrative overview, which covers my office. And thanks. They like me. Thank you. All right. So what we're looking at, it covers my office and the Human Resource Office, and the number of staff is unchanged, although we are recommending that we increased the human service coordinator from a .625 FTE to full-time. That is the last position which is yet to be restored from the 2015 fiscal cuts. You may recall the last several years we focused upon restoring the public safety positions and all the other impacts to that budget decision about 8 years ago. And so we're recommending, looking at the workload, they manage essentially 250 employees. They coordinate our collective bargaining administration and also negotiations during those years. And we have 2 units up for negotiation this coming summer. So we're recommending that we restore that position back to full-time. The total appropriation as revised because of the insurance change is $699,700. Very, very little revenue from this department, as you can see. And so due to the recommendation to increase that position, that annual budget increased from FY23 by about 12%, which includes the increase in insurance costs for the rest of the employees in that department. The actual operation budget is down about 3%. There's also an additional appropriation for $40,000 for a wage study. That was negotiated with our Teamsters during our collective bargaining agreement 3 years ago. That is a one-time expense, so we're recommending that it be funded from unallocated fund balance. We didn't see the reason to raise taxes on the community for a one-time expense. And that is the highlights of the executive budget, which is on page 28.
Okay. Any questions? All right, so for the refresher for everybody, so basically I was going to start on page 32, and typically we do the line by line so you can look at those, like for example 110, 130, 140. I'm not going to read them all off.
No.
Just if you have anything there that you wish to bring up while we're on that area, just let me know.
Yep.
All right.
So question on, so I know you said half-time to full-time. For the 9.65 increase in permanent position wages, but $40,000 increase in benefits for a person to go from part-time to full-time? What happened with that?
Yeah, when you consider the health insurance is now being provided to this employee, and also when you're looking at the Group 1 retirement rates, about 14%, it probably adds up to that number. The total impact of this position, the increase in the position, is about $61,000. That's obviously not on wages. That's removing that part-time position you see over on line 110002, moving that up and adding to 11001 for permanent wages full-time.
Yeah, no, I see that in 11001 is now 59,000. So as you correctly pointed out, I'm just kind of surprised that benefits went up 40 grand.
Are you looking
Just by moving that person.
Are you looking at the group health insurance?
At line 2,000 in the summary page, line 200, administrative employee benefits went up $40,000. That can't be just from that person going from .65 to 1.0.
Well, no, if you look at 210000 admin group insurance health, it went up from 35 to 67. So it's a 35 times a 6% increase in the rate for existing employees. And then what we typically do is we budget for a family plan because we don't know what this position is going to carry for the person we hire. And so that there is an increase of 32. And then at Social Security is up another $2,400. And then the retirement system is up another $4,000.
Yeah, I mean, the big increase was approximately $30,000 in line 20. Just so you know, I have last year's budget and this year's in details.
Right.
So I'm going through both sets of detail pages. Sorry for everybody else.
Mr. Chairman, point
Kind of
of order. Will we be doing what we've done in previous years, and if we want to flag certain items?
Yes.
We can have more detailed discussion, right?
Yep.
So if anyone wants to, flag a certain item.
Yep.
And get more information, we can also do that.
No, I'm okay.
Did he answer your question?
Yep, it just seems like a lot, given we got some breaks on insurance elsewhere, why this one will go up so much. That's all right.
Any other questions? All right, so again, on page 32, going through all those from 110 down to 625. Any questions on any of those?
I have a quick question on the wage study. So, Dave, we typically put that out to bid for the wage study? Or is that?
Yeah, we'll talk to Catherine, that there's a couple of consultants that perform that work here in New Hampshire. So we'll be talking to those folks, receiving proposal. It'll be a qualifications-based proposal.
Okay.
Right.
Any consideration of outside of not too close to the area? And the reason why I'm saying that, we did this at the county level as well. We actually chose a company that was qualified to do it, but in Connecticut, because they didn't know the players in the area. That could sway different things, but.
Yeah, this is for our public works unit, so we'll be focusing on a consultant's familiarity with the marketplace and with those particular positions.
Is it
So
just that one department?
It's just that one
Okay.
unit.
It's
That's correct.
not townwide?
That's right.
Okay.
That's correct.
Anybody else? All right. Anybody want to move the bottom line? Or anything we want to flag and come back with?
Jim, did you want to flag anything?
No.
No, I'm not necessarily a fan of moving the bottom line. We can just do it at the end and do them all at once, just in case something else comes up over the next couple of weeks.
Well, you can always revisit, so.
Right, so typically what we do is we move the bottom lines, which is for tonight will be $699,
As
$700.
long as I can retain the right to bring it back up if I
Yeah.
have a question upon further digging.
Yes, because then before we finalize it in a couple weeks, we can bring it all back. So when we have any flag items, we bring it back. and
No, like I say, as long as I reserve the right to come
Yep.
back.
I'll move the bottom line to $699, $700.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Council Churchill, second by Council McEachran. On the motion, Council Churchill?
Yes.
Council Spencer?
Yes.
Council Katsoukaris?
Yes.
Council Flood?
Yes.
Council Granesi?
Yes.
Council McEachran?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. All right. Next, we'll be moving on to community development.
Guilty.
Use the up-down arrow, or you can tell me to change it.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Bev Donovan, Economic Development. We'll make this one quick because it's so short, and you have a big, long list behind me. So the first thing, there we go. So staffing is continuing at one full-time employee. Some of you may remember we were trying to hire an intern, but in this job market, to find the skill set we need, that just was not going to work out. So as you'll see later, we'll be asking instead, these are sticky. We'll be asking instead to move some of that money over to other professional services in the 390 line. That means basically the FY24 annual budget is level based on contributions from TIF districts. And just to give you a quick idea, or for those at home, what we're doing, I'm sorry, this is sticky. The mission of the Economic Development Department is essentially creating long and short-term objectives, aligning with the master plan, continuing with the vision and goals of the master plan, to strengthen relationships, work to bring in new business, increasing opportunities and improving outcomes for existing dairy businesses. With a really an eye toward growing the tax base. Ongoing development and redevelopment projects, mostly happening in the West Runningbrook District, Crystal Ave, Manchester Road, and Ashley Drive area. We've held a number of workshops this past year in collaboration with different departments, different organizations and entities. Some of you remember the form-based code workshop we had in this room. We hosted with the Chamber the State of the Region event, and in this room also Economic Development Coffee and Conversation, which was an overview for the community, development community, and business community on the way we do business here in Derry. Continued making Derry a destination through social media, tourism brochure, if you've seen the Derry brochure, website postings on a number of state websites, as well as keeping our own updated, walk score updates, which is very important to developers looking to come here to Derry, and partnering with entities such as the Greater Derry Arts Council and others to create a vibrant community downtown. We worked with the Greater Derry Arts Council this past 2 years on the Opera House renovation, and now that that is almost finished, we'll be working even further to make sure that that town building is evolving and hosting activities, hopefully at some point 7 nights a week, to drive more business into the downtown. We do several events each year, Christmas Stroll, Frost Festival, Derry Derby Day, and so on. And I won't go through the rest of these because they're pretty much all the same, but essentially we'll be looking to keep promoting Derry and attracting business.
All right. Any questions? That's Churchill.
Yeah, just a little, hi Bev, I'm just a little bit, I'm looking at the pages and I'm a little bit confused, I apologize. I'm just trying to figure out, we got 2024 department recommended, and town administrator has different numbers. Why is it different? Specifically, benefit line, right? You've got 43,257, and the town administrator has 40,533. Am I reading that right?
Elimination of the intern.
That's a $3,000, well, $2,136 difference, right?
Line 110 went down from 110 to 103, which, if I understand Beverly's logic, it's the intern.
Okay, but she's got
Shifted the
she's got the
10K
recommendation number.
Shifted the 10K from personnel into other professional services, which will be my question when we get to it.
Okay. Yeah, Mark, why don't you answer that?
Would be my guess.
So what we did on in the town administrator's budget was, when he received it, we ended up allocating some of her pay to the TIF districts.
Oh.
We changed the allocation number to what it was at the first two levels of the budget. So that's the reason why for the decrease. So more of her pay and her benefits are being allocated to the two TIF districts at this point.
Okay, all right.
That's the reason why.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a difference of opinion on as to which way. Okay, all right. Thank you for that clarification.
Is that it, Councilor Churchill?
Yep, for now.
Anyone else?
Yeah, other professional services, were you moving the intern into that? What are those services that you're looking to provide?
So, for example, last year, we put together the brochure, the Derry brochure that was distributed in places up and down Route 93, rest areas, historic sites, hotels, that sort of thing. So things like that. Other projects that we're involved in, placemaking type of projects. So the Alan Shepard mural, for example.
But those would have been included in marketing and outreach last year. You want 15,000 moved by removing the intern, moving it in, you're adding 15,000. I'm just asking what's the
Yeah.
purpose for that?
So this year, we're working on a couple other things with, in terms of tourism. So we're focusing on the breweries, wineries, and doing some brochure work around there, some updates, hopefully, to our social media and website. Some things I just can't do myself, especially design work.
Okay, so you've obviously got some plans for that, based on what you just said. That's what I was
Yes.
getting. The line items just give you a number, and I'm just
Sure.
looking, so that's good. Okay, cool.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other questions, I'll move the bottom line of 179,528 for community development.
Okay, motion by Councilor Cello, seconded by Councilor McEachran to move the bottom line, the revised bottom line, 179,528. Councilor Cello.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Granessi.
Yes.
Councilor McEachran.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes. Moving right along.
Thank you.
79?
Yes. 170, so on the,
That's
it's on the summary sheet,
All
yeah.
right, 'cause I see.
So it should be 179,528.
That's correct. Pointing that out.
IT and GIS.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening. Mr. Rathburn.
Okay, ITGIS. Get a mouse. Possibly I do. So our goals, provide continued solutions for enhanced customer service through online applications. So what we're actually looking at doing with that is anywhere where we can actually get into the cloud to provide a benefit to the public, we're looking at options. That's where it's going. That's where it's at. It's been quite beneficial for us internally, so we want to continue that trend. Once again, another goal is to provide educational and application support to all end users. Our customers are essentially everybody who works here at the Municipal Center and yourselves. We're looking at upgrading our current virtual host infrastructure, which is essentially our physical servers that reside within our data center. We'd like to also start the replacement of the police department mobile device terminals, or what they call MDTs. Currently, right now, we're running devices that are anywhere between 9 and 12 years old. So they last, but they're starting to go by the wayside. So those are end of life. And what we're actually looking at doing is replacing half the fleet this year and going on a 6-year rotation, and then going again, and so we're all offsetting costs. We're also looking at migrating the current fire department ambulances from MDTs, which I'll get to, it shows it here later, but we're looking at those usually run about $3,500 per device. We're looking at converting those to iPad, Apple iOS devices. We can do that in the ambulances, not so much in the engines, but the cost savings, we're going to be looking at about an $8,000 cost saving to be able to do that and go with the iPads and the actual software to run that. Oh, this is awesome. So we're normally sequestered to the shadows and dark rooms. So I thought it'd be kind of neat to actually, so you could put a face with the guys that actually work in IT. We've got myself, Matt LaFosse, who is a system administrator, and he's in charge of servers, network operations, and security. Matt actually just came on board with us this past year. He's been fantastic. We have Doug Brown, who's also a sysadmin too. He's in charge of workstations, any telecom hardware, and any related software across the organization. We currently manage 2 data centers, 4 phone systems, all associated firewalls and connectivity to 14 different facilities, including 58 switches, 25 servers, 189 workstations, 283 user accounts, and all associated software. And GIS. So we're responsible for all the map edits and updates and any applications that you'll see on the DerryNH.org website. And that's been incredibly beneficial because I remember back in the day, and Jim, you remember back in the day when people used to come to our little public room downstairs in assessing, and their place would be, you'd have 5 or 6 people in there. Quite honestly, we rarely see people.
I remember the days when we had the
Everything-
chalkboard, and I used to do everything on a
Yeah,
spreadsheet in front of me.
So everything's online these days. Revenues, all our revenues are actually intergovernmental, so from other departments. Cable TV, 8,232, water, 28,498, wastewater, 26,043, and GIS fees, 800. Tile sales, I'll be honest with you, that's the other thing that's sort of gone by the wayside, is we used to actually be able to sell the digital tiles that were procured through our flyovers. Having the GIS online right now, we don't see that much anymore. So that's gone down. Well, it's actually stayed level across the board. Highlights within our budget. The big increase for us has actually been line 342001. It's basically technology services. And essentially all that is those are our support contracts across the board. We're seeing cost increases, basically 3 to 10%. And we're seeing it, we basically support over 54 various softwares, different softwares across police, water, wastewater, fire. In essence, it's really not that bad because you're looking at, a 33,000, just over 33,000 in total over 54 different softwares. So some are going up more than others, some are actually staying bottom line. We do have actually some additional softwares that we've included this year, and one is Power DMS, and it integrates into the current police software, and it allows them to train and manage new recruits more effectively. Another thing that we've added on to is Page Freezer, which is actually a social media archiving software. So these days, you never know where a 91A request is going to come from. So this actually just ensures that we can meet those needs. A big one for me is the Unitrends cloud backup to AWS. So essentially what we're doing is we actually back up our 2 data centers actually cross-replicate. So what's over at PD replicates over here at the municipal center. What's here at the municipal center replicates over to PD. But this ensures that we actually have a 3rd site. So if Derry goes away, God help us if it ever does, we actually could recover all our critical information. And if we had to start from scratch, we could actually do it like that. One big item, and it's actually the VMware maintenance and storage maintenance. Originally last year, that was put in 44001. We actually moved that back into this 342001 line. So you're actually going to see a decrease in that 440001 line of 13,315. So that 14,400, that is actually also added in on top of that 33,000 as an increase. So all in all, it's really not that huge of an increase. One of the factors to some of the larger increases, we tend to like to lock in where we can a support contract for 5 years. So for instance, something that we're going to use over 5 years, for instance, a good example is our spam filtering and archiving. We're going to use that for the next 10 to 15 years. We can lock that in usually at a set rate for 5 years. But what happens is you're awesome for those 5 years, but in that 6th year, you're going to see that increase. So, but ideally, you want to lock that rate in, and you won't see that increase over time, and lock that same rate in for another 5 years. in the 69003 line, capital less than 10K, Infotech equipment. One of the things that we're doing in order to actually integrate the iPad devices into the fire department ambulances, we're actually, we need software to actually be able to do that. So that's actually in that line. And we're, once again, as I stated, we're looking at spending $1,000 per iOS device as opposed to $3,500. So we've discussed it with fire. They're good with it. I'm good with it. It's a great cost savings to us. And, that's the other big one that we're doing this year. So that's really all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councilor Churchill?
First off, Doug, I want to ask you, how much can I get for a 2013 iPad?
$30.
I still have it, so. All right, that's number one.
I know the iPad.
Does it work?
No.
Works.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know you, I want to make sure it works.
Yeah, I haven't updated it in a while, but anyway. Quick question, because I can't find it in here. I'm noticing on line 190, other compensation went down a little bit, yet employee benefits went up. So what's under other compensation? What am I missing?
Mark, can you help me? You're talking about the 475?
Yeah.
Line 190,
190.
you're down a little bit, which is great, but then you're up on the employee benefits, so I'm just trying to figure out what that,
Well, first of all, employee benefits includes health insurance
Okay.
and all the other insurances. And health insurance, even though we had a great break recently, we're still up like 6.2% townwide.
Yeah.
And I think short-term and long-term went up 3%. So those are all in that number.
what falls under other compensation?
It could have been, it's a health buyout because,
Oh,
or no, I think,
it's only a $475 swing.
I don't know, I would really have to look at that.
Okay, can we flag that one? Yep. Mr. Chairman, can we flag that for later, just to check?
400.
It's not a lot of money, I'm just kind of curious, because
Well, if I can find it, I'll let you know.
I looked for the detail lines, but I couldn't find it there. I've asked this question, I don't know how many times, and I keep forgetting it. I apologize, Doug. So on the telephone line,
Yes.
is that for telephones all across all the departments?
Everything.
You cover, so I shouldn't have telephone anywhere else?
You shouldn't. The only thing you might see is I believe fire has a stipend in one of their lines.
Actually, a lot of people have the stipend because we use our personal cell phones for, like in finance, all the banking that's done, they send you these secondary codes in order to get into the websites. So we all get reimbursed $45 a month if we use our phone.
Okay,
So you will see that in some of the
In the
budgets.
departments, but you won't see
Right.
that. But anything else associated,
the cost of the actual monthly payments for the
Exactly,
phones,
that's us.
department-wide, is
Yep,
going to come
yep.
through you, right? That's why that number is large, it's not for 3 people.
no, it's
Okay,
big, yeah.
thank you for answering that. I appreciate that.
Yep.
The data processing line is probably the biggest swing difference.
That's right, and that is that software support line that I was just explaining.
Yeah, I noticed that you're going from 100 megabyte to 500 megabyte in certain departments. You're increasing I'm trying to get the terminology right. If I look in at let me take a look here. 342.
Page 55, Brian, line
55.
34, 2,000, couple down.
Yeah, okay.
The
Yeah,
13,000.
it's actually right in the middle. It's 342. It says fiber connectivity supporting DMC, transfer lane, recreation, fire stations and police increase from 100 megabyte to 500 megabyte due to increased usage.
Oh, yes, sorry. So essentially what that is we started to have issues with just the amount of data being pushed down those lines. So we actually had to increase the capacity of those.
By 5 times?
What's that?
By 5?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, they don't sell in small increments.
It's not like 100.
So you're doing
200.
100, or you're going from 100 up to 500,
Okay, all right,
and then 500 up to a gig. So,
They didn't make you go to a game.
okay.
Right.
I think that's all the questions I have for now.
Okay, anyone else?
thank you.
Councilman Geckran?
Yeah, so these all make sense. The contracts you say you're getting into, obviously there's some increases to get to the 56,000.
Right.
They're very well detailed out here, and particularly when I look at last year's, I can do my comparisons.
Right.
Because I'm used to having last year's budget line at the same time, so I got to pull two books now. We used to have both lines here previously, so I could do it.
Yes.
They all make sense, but when you said, are we now signing up? Because I see a couple of them, lock-in support for 3 years, so you've made it, so the time's up, you're locking in again for another
Right,
3.
right.
So we should see some of these things for the next 3 years, then we'll get another
Exactly.
step function in 3 years.
Exactly.
All right.
So ideally, so for instance, one of the big ones coming up is actually our antivirus and archiving.
I saw that in here, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah,
The
yeah, and so
antivirus-
that actually is coming due this next year. So that's one of the increases that you're seeing in there. Ideally, we want to lock that in for at least at a minimum of 3 years.
Because I saw that in here, spam and email archival, spam filters, email
Right.
archival cost, 5-year term, it went up, it more than doubled. So that's to enter in a new 5-year contract for
Yeah.
for spam.
Right.
I noted that was going to
And
happen.
so guaranteed that if we go into 5 years, in 6 years, you're going to see another pretty good size increase.
The Office license went up a lot.
Yes, it did. That's Microsoft.
That went up.
They're adding features and charging you for it, but it has been phenomenal for us here.
So any changes you're doing to the fire,
Right.
are we calculating in the move to the new fire station and we're not putting an effort into the current central fire station if the new one's coming online in the next couple of years? I'd rather not. I want to make sure, obviously, that's operational, everything get
Right.
done, get serviced well.
But-
I don't necessarily want to spend a lot of extra money on the rotary fire station in any aspect.
No.
If we're going to be building a new one.
No, a lot of the gear is going to be reused.
Are you beginning to plan for the IT transfer?
Yes.
From central?
Yeah.
Is
Yep.
any of that in this budget?
No, it's not.
Do you need anything in this budget?
No, ideally, in discussions that we've had, we'd be looking at covering it in the cost of that station. One of the big one, actually, to be quite honest, is
Yeah.
actually running fiber from the municipal center
I'm asking.
up to Parkland. And I've actually got Eustace working on getting me.
Okay, so
A number
you're
for that.
comfortable not having anything added to this budget?
That's in the bond, right?
One shot,
If you want to give me a little more.
one shot, of adding anything to this budget.
No, because I mean, we're not even
Coverage
looking at
of the
breaking
new
ground.
fire
here.
station going in behind the hospital. We can highlight this and come back, but I want to make sure.
Well, I really, you know, I'll be honest with you, Jim.
In 2 years, we're
If I could actually look at that, you know, what's being done with the fire station and say, yeah, we're covered there, then I'm good. I really can't tell you that.
Okay, well, we got a couple weeks. I just want to make sure that we're considering the new fire station's opening in 2025, that,
But we're looking at about a 14-month construction schedule, which starts this coming August.
Okay.
So we're going to finish up the construction bleeding into FY '25.
I guess my question is open to you, Dave. For all of the departments that are going to be involved in that construction, we want to make sure that if there's opportunities to take advantage of pricing and things now, we should consider that for this.
Oh, sure.
budget.
Oh, I understand.
That's all I'm asking.
Yep.
And I know there's a ton of work to go into IT to move, you know, you just don't put your laptop in your car, drive down to the new station and plug it in.
No, not quite.
You know?
Right. You don't?
So I want to make sure that we're completely comfortable with what we're doing for that. Because we can't,
That's all,
I don't want to be surprised in 2025.
that's all in the soft cost line item estimate when we built the station budget for approval by the council last spring.
Okay, so that's all part of the soft costs in the package for the approval of the station. And we're constantly looking at that to see if we have to tweaky for the next couple of years, which you're
We
probably
will
gonna have to do.
be, but it's too early in the final design to do that at this point.
No problem.
Councilor Churchill?
Did anyone else have any questions before? Nope. Okay.
I'll let you. Yeah.
So Dave looked up the line 190, so we can unflag that because that's actually longevity.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was a new employee, that's why it's a negative number.
Okay, so you're good.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? 2 quick questions. The MDTs for the police, when you take them out, and is there any trade-in value or recycle value to that at all, or nothing? They don't?
No, no. I mean, they're end of life for a reason.
Yeah, I figured.
So, I mean, we have definitely gotten the life out of them.
And as far as the previous years, we've talked about the firewall. We're good with the firewalls and all that stuff. I know.
Oh, we're good. We just upgraded our firewalls.
Okay. You know,
Isn't this Neil's line? Isn't
Yeah,
this
no,
Neil's
no,
line?
just-
Are we safe?
Yeah, I know we're safe, but I just want to make sure there's nothing else firewalls.
No,
because
No, we
Gosh,
actually
yes,
just
we've-
upgraded our firewalls across the organization.
We've seen some examples of
past
things
summer,
that-
And it's been,
Okay.
rock solid, so.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
go ahead.
I'd like to move the information technology line of $1,098,026.
Second.
Okay, motion to move bottom line. Second by Council McEachran. Council Churchill.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Council Flood.
Yes.
Council Grassi.
Yes.
Council McEachran.
For Doug, okay.
Thank you very much.
And Chair votes yes.
Now,
Thank
right?
you.
For now.
For now.
For now.
We'll let Doug slide. For
All
now.
right, Mr. Karen with the Human Services.
Okay. As you all know, under state statute, the town is required to assist residents and any other person coming through town who can demonstrate a need for assistance. We transitioned to an outsourced management firm. They're in Derry Community Health Services. They're located on Shenandoah Road about 5 years ago. And the advantage of going with CHS, it was economies of scale. They also service Hampstead and Londonderry. They also provide case management services, which was critical to us because the goal of general assistance is to give folks temporary assistance so they can get back on their feet to self-sufficiency. So again, it's community health services in Derry. We're again recommending that we continue to fund 7 other agencies to strengthen our social service safety net, and the general assistance budget is at $80,000. And here are the 7 groups which we've funded historically. Most of them are actually located in Derry. They provide a wide range of service, and they also assist with leveraging on our general assistance. And our total budget for human services at $291,000. Of that amount, I think it's on this page. No, where'd that one go? Well, we lost the slide. But our general assistance budget, direct assistance, is $80,000. And this is really a bellwether year for us. We've spent nowhere near that the last couple of years because there's been an incredible amount of COVID funds coming down from the state and federal government. Now that it's all ending, I'm sure we're going to see an uptick in requests for assistance for us. However, with the unemployment rate hovering around 2.3, 2.4%, we suspect there'll be jobs out there for people to obtain. So we feel comfortable with the $80,000 at this point. What we do is we receive a monthly report from CHS on how many phone calls they receive, how many appointments, how many grants of assistance, how many case management meetings they have, and they give us an outline of how much they've spent in our general assistance budget, and also how much funds have they leveraged with other agencies. It's not uncommon whereby if somebody needs an apartment and they have to pay the first month rent, the town will pay a portion of it. Isaiah 58 may pick up some, and then Community Action may pick up some as well. All of the top 5 groups, we give out grants on a quarterly basis, and the bottom 2, they're so small, we just give them a one lump sum payment. And we receive reports from these folks on a quarterly basis regarding their services in gross and also their services to Derry residents, percent of low, moderate income people. And we go through a grant process every winter whereby these agencies submit their proposals to us and give us information as to number of citizens served in the last year, what other communities are also contributing to their organization. and what specific services they will be providing. So the amount this year is up about $2,500 overall, because we're recommending that we increase family promises from $2,500 to $5,000. They provide some transient housing services for our residents. All the other agencies have been flatlined from their appropriations from FY23.
Questions? Councilor Chercello.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dave, so you said you feel comfortable with the 80, and the only reason why I'm just thinking about this is at the county level, we had rental assistance. Over the 2-year period, we provided close to $3 million in rental assistance from the county. And that is going to end very shortly here. And a lot of times, these people have no other place to go, and they'll reach out to the town. So are you okay? Are you truly okay with the 80, or should we flag this and...
Well, we really don't have a good benchmark at this point. Our last benchmark was pre-COVID, which is about 3 years ago, and the $80,000 was more than sufficient. So I'd be just throwing a dot at a dartboard to give you another number. So what we'll do is we'll monitor throughout the year, and if it's trending in the wrong direction, we'll return to the council for potentially supplemental appropriation to get us through FY24. But we don't have enough recent history to let us know what the impact's going to be moving forward. Because of all, like you said, all the federal money coming in, which was replacing the local assistance.
Yeah, because we're seeing at the county that people are asking us
sure.
where they're going to go, and it's, there's no other place, so they may be coming into town, but
Right.
anyway, okay. I think that's a good answer. We can do a supplemental if we see it trending.
Always think about it and come back. You got a couple more weeks. If you see anything at the county that we should be aware of in the next couple of weeks while you're going through your stuff.
The only thing is that, they approved it for people in 3-month increments, so we may not see it for a little bit, like June timeframe, but I think Dave had a good answer there. I think I can live with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Chairman,
we have
if
that
there are no other questions, I'll move a bottom line of $291,400.
Second.
Okay, so motion by Councilor McEachran, second by Councilor Granessi to move the bottom line. Councilor Chercello.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukalis.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Granessi.
Yes.
Councilor McEachran.
Yes, sorry.
Chair votes yes. Moving on to finance. Nope, correction, assessing.
Oh,
Well, Finance Department assessing.
Yes.
that's,
Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Mark Fleischer, CFO. So the assessing budget starts on page 80. A couple of highlights. This is year 5 of a 5-year contract with Whitney Consultant for assessing duties. The contract provides a fixed expense and therefore no increases. Payment in lieu of taxes, which is also known as pilots, decreased slightly due to lower incomes at Nutfield Heights. We level budgeted cut timber revenue based on the FY23 activity. Printing and mailing line has been decreased. The FY24 is a non-revaluation year. Property owners are notified via mail when their value increases. The overall budget decreased by 0.1%, and the revised appropriation total is $444,827.
We doing questions?
Yeah, questions?
I'm a little confused. I'm sorry. I'm tired today. I apologize.
Go ahead.
So I'm reading it. It says year 5 of a 5-year contract. Contract provides a fixed expense and therefore no increases. And I'm looking at a $9,062 increase. Am I missing something?
Page 84, summary.
No, I'll put it.
Now, if you go to 84, it's in the summary section what
If you
Brian's
go
talking
to
about.
the Crystal report, the summary, it's line 312, it's assessor assessing, it's 264,610, and it's the same this year, 264,610.
I'm not following, Mark. I apologize.
That line was right below where you were looking.
Oh, right here?
That's what that refers to, isn't it?
Oh, so it has nothing to do with, okay, because these are employees of ours?
No,
or-
it's an outside contractor who who is a professional service, so they're not on our payroll.
Right, so we get a contract, right?
Right.
But in the contract, does the wages increase every year? Is that what it is?
Nope, it was negotiated as a flat fee 5 years ago.
Okay,
It has not
so,
changed. So the payroll changes are related, we do have a couple of employees down there for support services to these people.
this is ancillary into that department?
Right. But they're
Okay.
employees of the town. But
All
the
right.
main fee is $264,610, and that has not changed for several years.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Quick question, assessing. What's our coefficient of dispersion right now?
I don't have that one, but I can get it for you, though.
Could you get it for me?
Sure. What's it called again?
Coefficient of dispersion.
Really?
It's the evaluation of assessing.
Oh,
Are we at 98%, 99, 94?
I can get that for you.
I think we're at 97.
I'm just curious what it is.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you're never going to hit 100, but if we're recycling the entire assessing every 5 years, we should be in the high 90s, so I'm just curious.
You can go over 100. Can.
I know,
Say we
but
don't.
it's
I
not
know,
advisable.
but
But I'm just curious to see what it is
I'll
this
find
year,
out
that's
for
all.
you and get back to you. Get back to all of you.
And for the members of the audience, what that term is, it's related to making sure all housing of the similar type wrapped around the same number for their assessing value.
I know
right?
what you mean.
So we,
Yes.
long before your tenure, we used to do assessing, and over time, if you didn't do it periodically and not the 20% every year, neighbors would be wildly different in their assessing values because of fluctuation in the marketplace. And you like to have that coefficient.
Yep.
Keeps all four-bedroom colonials that are a certain size all pretty close to each other in valuation. It's a methodology of making sure everybody's paying their fair share. So it's important to see that number's as close to 100% as it should be. And by doing 20% every year, we're usually pretty good. That's the reason for the question.
Yeah, the town administrator might know when he comes back.
Yep,
When he
that's
steps
not a
back
big
in, he might.
No need to flag.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no other questions,
Other
I'll...
questions?
Does
Go
anyone
ahead.
have? I'm
Have
sorry.
at it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the assessor's budget of $444,827.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Churchill, second by Councilor Spencer. On the motion, Councilor Churchill.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris. Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Grassy.
Yes.
Councilor McEachran.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 7-0. You doing
Okay,
finance too, Mark?
Finance is up next. Page 68.
Back a page.
Are you all there? Okay. The FY24 budget is increased over FY23 by $24,614, or 3.7%, which is primarily personnel related. Total compensation increased 3.3%. Health insurance premiums increased 5.9%. Workers' comp increased 30.2%, and that's, you're going to see that town-wide, just because of our experience ratings were off a little bit this past year. We have budgeted 5 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. The treasurer and deputy treasurer are the part-timers. Treasurer position is currently vacant. We're in year 4 of our auditing contract with Markham, which was formerly known as Melanson. Year 4 and 5 are option years with minimal increases. We increased other professional services line 390 due to the other post-employment benefit reporting that we have to have prepared. It's $4,000. In FY23, the OPEB valuation was actually, I don't think it was budgeted in legal, but it was actually recorded in legal. So we used legal expenses to pay for that, and that was $13,000. Revenues are projected to be $600 for the year, and the revised appropriation total is $694,394. So I'm sorry, $694,384.
Questions?
What do you have for revenue that makes $600 a year? I'm just
It's
Coke machine.
it's insurance related reimbursements, like if there's somebody gets disability or workers' comp or liability. Yes, it happens.
revenue, $600. Okay.
Mark, where do we see the revenues from the treasurer?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What part of the budget do we see the revenues from the treasurer?
Revenues from the treasurer.
Yeah, where is that?
$600.
You know, the interest that we make on the money?
Oh, that's
from
an
the-
OMO.
OMO, okay, okay.
That's coming up soon.
Gotcha. All right, I'll make a motion, if there's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve the bottom line finance for $694,384.
Second.
Motion by Council Cherichello, second by Council McEachran. On the motion, Council Cherichello.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katz-Corris. Council Flood.
Yes.
Council Canesi.
Yes.
Council McEachran.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 7-0.
Going to bring up Stacy Bellavo,
Next.
tax collector. to
Tax
talk about her
collection.
budget. I'll drive.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so some revenue highlights. Interest and penalties on delinquent taxes has been level funded based on current collection trends. The interest rates are 8% current year and 14% for lien year. Motor vehicle and boat revenue have been increased based on higher list prices on vehicles, volume of transactions, and convenience of processing boat registrations. Sale of tax deeded property has decreased based on current town deeded property inventory. Tax collection staff, we have 6 full-time employees. Our training has increased due to tax collector and deputy required tax collector certification classes and continuing education. Postage and printing expenditures increased due to the increased cost and volume of mailing being processed in the tax collector's office. And the revised appropriation total is $858. And for customer service, we accept credit cards for all transactions at the customer service windows. We accept ACH and credit card payments through our customer self-service on our website for all payments. We have an ATM in the lobby, which allows you to take out up to 500. Real-time visibility of tax and utility bill balances on the website. Tax bill reprint capability through the Town of Derry website, and increased renewal ability for online transactions from 60 days to 120 days.
Questions?
I'll just make a quick comment. I mean, this budget hasn't moved up that much. I think that's just the increase in the personnel services, so it's pretty much level funded. Good job on that.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion to,
I have one quick question.
oh, I'm sorry. go ahead.
Unrelated, it's a silly question. Boat registrations.
Yes.
Can anybody register a boat here in Derry?
Yes.
Or it doesn't have to be a resident?
They do not have to be a resident.
I just want to point that out so we can get people to,
Absolutely.
so if you're at Big Island Pond or Beaver Lake, you can
Beaver
register your boat.
Lake,
Even if you
yeah.
live somewhere else, come register
You don't
your
have
boats
to be a
here.
resident.
Yes, absolutely.
Encouraging people to register their
I am.
boats.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get the money.
All right, I'm sorry, Councilor Cherichello, go ahead.
That's okay. Make a motion on the tax collector to move the bottom line of $858,868.
Second.
Okay, motion to move the bottom line, Councilor Cherichello, seconded by Council Spencer. On the motion, Councilor Cherichello.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katz-Corris.
Yes.
Council Flood.
Yes.
Council Granessi.
Yes.
Council McEachran.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is other municipal obligations, page 101.
107?
107.
Okay. Glad to,
We'll approve 101.
what's that?
We'll approve 101.
Okay.
All right, almost.
So OMO is, for people that don't know, it's basically a collection of certain revenues and expenses that aren't due to operations, can't really apply them to a specific activity center. So some of the items that we include for revenue is the New Hampshire meals and rooms tax. We budgeted $3.03 million, and that's based on our FY23 receipt. We're going to use $457,600 for ARPA, with ARPA funds. Our interest revenue, we budgeted at $500,000, which is approximately 50% of the estimated FY23 earnings. Our use of fund balance is $147,200, and that's going to cover the increase in electricity. which is a one-time increase. Hopefully, the solar panels will be online by the end of the fiscal year '24. And the collective bargaining unit wage study that was talked about earlier. $1.453 million is being transferred from the Fire Facility and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund to cover the FY24 debt service payment on the fire station and the culvert bond. And we also use capital reserve funds for capital lease debt payments. On the expenditure side, some of the appropriations include estimated earned time buyout payments related to the collective bargaining agreements. With roll-ups, that actually decreased 22.3% this year. Retiree health insurance premiums, that is almost a $17,000 increase. We did not increase legal expenses. Property and liability insurance increased 3.9%. We're going to be funding capital reserves by $300,000, $1.2 million from unallocated fund balance. Fees for the regional cart transportation is $48,800. On debt service, the general fund bond and capital lease payments are appropriated here. We're going to be transferring $750,000 to the Fire Facility Equipment Capital Reserve Fund for future bond payments on that FY23 fire station and culvert bond. And the revised appropriation total equals $6,446,541.
Questions? Councilor Churchill?
Yeah, just one quick question. I'm trying to figure out why the department recommended is less than the town administrators on the very bottom line. What's that difference? It's like $50,000.
That is the retiree health insurance.
So you don't want to fund, but he wants to fund it?
No, what we did was, the book was already being printed, so what we did was we made the change of the health insurance reductions in the town council proposed column. Is that what you're talking about?
If you look at the bottom line where it says total other, the very, very bottom line on the summary sheet.
Yeah.
Department recommended $6,405,847.
Okay.
But the town administrator recommends $6,455,847. Is that a typo?
No. I know we added some stuff.
Yeah. When we made some of the changes, it was more convenient to move it to the final one as opposed to the one before. It's just timing with the printing of the books.
Okay.
And the accounts.
All right.
But we're in sync with the recommended budget.
Okay. Usually I see it the other way around.
Yeah.
Usually the department head's a little bit higher, but anyway.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Spencer?
I'm assuming I'm asking the same question, so I apologize that I picked that moment to have to blow my nose, but I did. I think the difference you were talking about, there is a difference on the bottom line. It looked like it's the transfer to the capital reserve, and I just wanted that's what we're just.
Yeah, see, we're currently at 282, and the original budget proposal came in at reducing that to 250, and it needs to go the other way. So looking at the totality of the budget, I asked Mark to put it in at $300,000. Right.
Anyone else?
Yeah. So I'm going back over last year's to this year's, the $20,500,000, that's the fire station?
Correct, that's the bond.
That's the exercising of the bond, because that came in at some point last year after we recommended the budget. Okay.
Right, and there was also, which we're going to have to do again this year, I imagine, on those earned time buyouts. We budget a certain amount during the budget process, but people eventually will come and say, guess what, I'm retiring, and you have to cash them out. And it brings us over budget, and we have to draw money out of the compensated absence capital reserve to cover the overage. So that's...
So that's that 321,000
I believe so, yeah.
for earned time and all that?
Yes.
That's the 3 pages of people I have, because it clearly doesn't cover everybody.
Right, like I said, you never know who's going to come forward tomorrow and say, hey,
Right.
I'm done.
No. It's the expectation of retirement. Okay.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
if no one has any other questions, I'll move the bottom line of OMO to the revised line of $6,446,541.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Churchill, second by Councilor Spencer. On the motion, Councilor Churchill?
Yes.
Councilor Spencer?
Yes.
Councilor Katz-Corris? Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Granessi?
Yes.
Councilor McEachern?
I'm going to vote yes, but I'm going to come back with some more questions. I can just talk to Mark and Dave offline.
Okay. And the chair votes yes, 7-0. Planning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Planning Director George Sioris and Liz Robidoux.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council.
Good evening.
George Sioris for the record, and Liz Robidoux, Assistant Planning and Economic Development Director. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, our budget, where's the next one? Just the slide. Okay. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, our budget has increased this year. We've traditionally been level funded for several years, but we've asked for an increase this year for, as you know, we're a two-person department. We're requesting that we would like to have another part-time position, a planning clerk to, as you can imagine, and I think Jim and Dave have been on the planning board the last several years, the workload, and Dave Karen knows, the development is just nonstop. It was steady even during COVID. It's increased again post-COVID with everybody going back and doing projects. So we've been very busy, and we would like to do a planning clerk of approximately 20 hours a week. And what that position would do would be to primarily take some of the burden off of Liz to do the minutes and some of the clerical stuff that takes up a lot of time. I don't know how she does it and others when they do the minutes. It's not just transcribing from the meetings and spending not hours, but days on doing the handwritten notes, then have to watch the TV screen on the replays with the headsets, and that can take days sometimes. So we'd like a clerk to do that, and then that allows Liz and I to continue with the planning and the development. Our revenues, as you can see, were 243% increase from last year. As you know, you see the development, and there's so much stuff in the pipeline currently through this fiscal year. So our current revenue as of last week was $29,249.09. That's the highest I can recall in many years. Our planning fee applications are pretty consistent with surrounding towns. We increased them a few years ago to be level with other communities. We anticipate more development in the last 3 months of this fiscal year, which will be April, May, June. We know our projects that are coming into the line before the planning board in the next 2 months or 2.5 months. So that revenue number will go up. Again, for next year, there are several housing, mixed-use, commercial, industrial developments in the pipeline that we think will be submitted to us starting in July through the end of the year. We have no external factors which would impact the department. Even with the economy, we're still busy, and we have no capital projects. So if there's any questions, Liz and I are here to answer any.
That's Chair Trello. You have a question?
No, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. I do have a question that correlates, not necessarily to planning, only because you guys are getting busier, I understand that, but also I'm wondering if code enforcement is getting busier as well. But anyway, that's another question for code enforcement, because they work hand in hand, the department.
Yes.
So as you guys are doing a lot of work on the planning side, I could just imagine code enforcement, we still only have the 2 people there, right?
It trickles to all the departments, including Public Works, because we have our inspectors who go out and inspect the work that's, approved on the plans. Yeah.
And a town our size, I mean, we've been doing this for a long time with 2 people. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's time to maybe it's a discussion for another time, but just wanted to put that out there. But straightforward budget. I think you guys did a good job.
I knew to answer your question, and maybe Brian could answer this in the next meeting, but he's extremely busy, like Liz said, with the 2 inspectors, but they are getting swamped with the solar panel applications. It's the most, I'm not exaggerating, they are showing me stacks of people converting over to solar panel, which is an inspections that they have to do.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's like that much every day.
Yeah. I mean, we're the 4th largest community in the state.
So
I can't imagine, that department was bigger 15 years ago.
yeah, we've been this
But
way for
anyway,
many years. So
I digress. I apologize.
it's okay.
Good job on your budget.
Councilor Granesi.
So if there's no other questions, and I move the bottom line for the planning in the amount of $332,200.
Second.
Motion by Council Granessi to move the bottom line, second by Council McEachran. On the motion, Council Cherichello.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katz-Corris.
Yes.
Council Flood.
Yes.
Council Granessi.
Yes.
Council McEachran.
Thank you.
The chair votes yes, 7-0.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
Very
Thank you.
grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, too.
Good job, buddy.
You definitely need the help.
Yeah. You guys do a great job. Thank you.
If you can't find anybody, Dave will come in overtime. And
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Is there somebody in the sheriff's department that wants to come in?
Yep.
All right. Then we got
Cable.
Cable. Director Owen Preventure.
Good evening, Mr. Chair,
Good evening.
councilors.
Hello.
Pleasure to be here before you today, this evening.
Well, you're always here when we're here,
I know.
for the record.
It's a little different today. Yeah, we're just going to give you some highlights and leave plenty of time for any questions you might have for this proposed budget. DerryCAM believes that a better world starts with a connected community. That's what drives our mission on our daily, weekly, monthly, and annual schedules. Relative to the budget, we want to make sure we remind folks in the room and watching at home that we are a self-balancing fund. We do not impact the tax rate. We're funded by Comcast Cable subscribers here in town. Any fund balance that we plan on using and anticipate will be limited to capital improvements, one-time expenditures. We're not going to depend on that long-term for operations. All of these proposals are requesting the continuation of our long-term strategic goals. Over the past year, we have increased our event coverage even more as we reemerge from the height of COVID and its effects. Certainly, we've noticed, as you've noticed through all of our government meetings, but also through special events and even our off-site productions, we are focusing on hybrid, meaning giving folks at home the chance to interact with the meetings and events that we cover. Lots more collaboration with our community partners. New partners are coming on. Derry Village Rotary is certainly one where we've recently, over the past couple of years, helped them out during COVID with their speech contest, their annual speech contest. So that's one example of ways that we provide opportunities to continue services when otherwise they might not be able to. And that's throughout town, not only in departments, and certainly here in this room. We've been investing in our tech through capital improvement, and again, that's a continuation, so we have to think of those improvements long-term, multi-year, sort of a phased rollout. And we do have certainly an increase in independent production, so that's kind of bringing us back to the days pre-COVID. In fact, tonight is kind of special. We actually have in the audience, by chance, he happened to be volunteering today, but our longest serving independent producer and volunteer, Tom Wood, who is present in the room, actually. There he is. But 20 years, Tom has dedicated service to volunteer for our events that we cover. Oh, hi, Tom.
Nice.
Hi.
Hey.
20 years.
And certainly, he has his own independent production, very prolific indeed.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Hey.
Yes. We'll be celebrating that in July. I'm going to come talk to you guys.
Yeah,
then.
absolutely.
I think that'll be.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We also, to sort of pass the torch, we have the new generation with Anthony Henry in the back, who just started a couple of weeks ago his own independent production. And I'm sure you're going to want to tune in and find out what he thinks and has to say about current events. So that's really exciting. That's bringing us back. That's kind of the spirit of the public access side of what we do. Having people be able to express their passions, their hobbies or ideas or what have you. And of course, we've got alternate ways to do that. It's not just by creating a public access TV show anymore. We can translate that into podcast, give people the training and skill set they need to really to really excel in media production. I'm really happy to do that. That kind of bridge, I don't want to pass over that last line. School to work opportunities that we provide. We currently, I think I'm correct, I tried to look up, but I think we're at number 8 continuous next charter school capstone students. This is their internship and their capstone for their graduation at next charter school. They have to serve 300 hours with a mentor in a professional environment. I'm very proud to say that the majority of those students that we've had over the past several years actually get hired on. So we talk about school to work opportunities right here at home. It's really a cool thing to see. Recognition. A couple years ago, I was proud to tell you that my team brought us forward to become award-winning DerryCAM.
Cool.
Following year, last year, we actually set a record regionally for the most recognition for that year that has ever been achieved from New York State and all of the New England states, where we received, I believe, 8 or 9 individual pieces of recognition for that. We maintained that this past year with just about the same amount and a first place award.
Cool. Nice.
We're here to put Derry on the map any way we can.
Yeah.
Projects underway. We have our meeting room upgrades, which are certainly long-term and continuous. Right now, we're about halfway through. If I wanted to right now, I could demonstrate that we can now move this podium here, which really is a game changer for the different demands that are put on this room in terms of mixed use. If you think about it, this is limited, any type of event or function or seminar or workshop one would like to have. We've got limited options in town. We're working on it. Staff is hard at work at that, but at the same time, if we've got this room with the investments that we've made in it, why not use it and make it as flexible as possible? So that's the goal moving forward. That brings us to remote hybrid operation. Again, that harkens back. Just this morning, we have a great example. We had the wonderful opportunity to collaborate with our own planning department and the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission and help them facilitate hosting a regional climate workshop and its impacts here in this room. And it was something to see the engagement that with us maintaining Zoom capabilities. It's a very in-demand service right now. So folks have the option, they can come here and enjoy bagels with those that show up, or they can, if they can't otherwise make it, they can come home or stay home and visit remotely. Moving on quite a bit, the priorities in this budget with CIP and otherwise are continued remote optimization.
Is that your department too?
You have to wait till it stops.
Unfortunately, that's not my department. Well, we can build
budget's
it in
that,
there
IT?
somehow, justify it. Put a TV on it.
And Doug just left.
TV on the door, we'll call it ours.
Channel 6.5.
That's right. Exactly. Moving forward, and this budget is requesting in capital improvement further remote optimization. So all of our remote with off-site and making sure that our network connectivity and reliability. Right now, our toughest challenge is working around elections. Presently, where they are, network is really hard to come by there on a good day, never mind when the power happens to go out due to storms and what have you. But we're doing the best we can with what we've got, but we're constantly researching on ways we can improve that network so that programming we're bringing can make it home to the viewer. Our FM station, 95.1, Derry's Evolution. One of the major goals and the drivers with obtaining that a couple of years back was public safety coordination. So in the event EOC or in the event of a community emergency, there is an over-the-air outlet for emergency messaging to when the internet goes down, which it will, and everything else goes down. Radio will be the last thing standing. So with Fire's AM station and our FM station, we can coordinate that to get pretty much all of Derry the messaging they need when they need it most. Huge priorities are recruitment and training. We've got open positions, as you can see. They're part-time positions. They're ideal if you follow conventional. I don't want to exclude anybody. Everyone is welcome to apply, but they really seem more ideal for emerging professionals, very young individuals, and also retirees who have some time. To that end, we're really trying to get creative with scheduling and training opportunities so that folks can grow professionally and develop, and see value in that. So that becomes a trade-off for them and a perk, if you will. So we're really focusing on recruitment efforts and training opportunities wherever we can. This is a little bit more. One main thing to note on here would be the fiber build-out. We have the majority of fiber connection termination to the Opera House. We'll also be working this coming year on the connection to the library, and moving forward with some recent news that we've heard from Comcast. We'll be looking at other departmental or inter-building connections that we can go, and that would be huge because that answers that network. That would increase the strength of the network. We'd have a direct fiber connection from a lot of the places we already cover from, so that would be huge. That's and then the big one we're going for, we're looking around to see what's available for dedicated production vehicle. As you know, we have the trailer, the production trailer that's out there. Folks might have seen us schlepping gear into our own vehicles, if you will, when we don't particularly need the trailer. When we do need the trailer, Mike and the Department of Public Works has been very kind and very accommodating of loaning us a truck from the Water Department on occasion. We just feel it would be justified and good use and good investment if we had that vehicle of our own. Continued programming, looking forward, our different creative things for continuity that will be informative and entertaining for folks, for residents of Derry and people visiting. Nostalgia is, programming is a big trend these days, so we're going to be going into the vault, and I think we've got some old footage of Councilor McEachern and I think Councilor Chericello we can dig up and
What do you say, old? Are you calling us old?
No, nostalgia, just
Called the footage old.
retro, slightly retro.
There's a correlation.
And then more through the use of XR technologies and VR, and then also our online presence, which we've developed, DerryCAM.org. If you haven't been, folks at home, please check it out, particularly the Derry Happenings calendar, which we really encourage folks to fill out and put their events on there. Open it up for any questions.
Questions?
Of course.
Council Spencer.
I just have one. This is so out of my wheelhouse, so no one laugh if it's outrageous. So talking about having a dedicated vehicle and talking about not having network capabilities when you go to certain places, is there technology that exists that having a vehicle there could be something in that vehicle that helps with that?
Absolutely. We can talk about transporting more robust equipment rather than what can fit into a case, a typical production case. If there's something fitted or permanently fitted within the vehicle, certainly there would be a better chance of reliability there. We would hope, for sure, especially if we get into aerial and being able to lift those.
Councilor Cressy.
Quick question.
Yes.
When you're doing, I'm a geek when it comes to electronics, so when you do live stuff, how do you get it back to the station?
Right now, we're using what's called bonded cellular. So that's
live view, like what
essentially
basically TV stations are using now. They're using
one of LiveView's competitors, but yes,
over cellular networks.
Absolutely, multiple, and it's pretty phenomenal for those that don't know and want to learn about it. You can call me up anytime. I'll talk with you. But yeah, breaking an HD, an audio, and metadata signal plus other information that can go over there over multiple cellular lines. So you've got Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, and then with just 2 seconds latency, we've got it back home. All put back together right where it's supposed to go. So it's pretty.
I didn't know if you're using that. I was going to suggest that. So.
We're using that sort of. And that's the best we've got right now. A more robust version of that is, I think, what is going to be the answer moving forward.
Okay, awesome.
What else? I know you work with the capstone students from Next. What about other students from Pinkerton and the middle schools? I know you've seen some other kids come in here and do
Absolutely,
programs.
yes. Basically, however they can learn about us. Sometimes we're engaging with the communications department over there, CTE. We're always working with CTE, and they're one of our stronger community partners at this time. And so word gets around, and sometimes if there's an internship opportunity that's needed, we can fulfill that. Or if we need help or have a specific goal, we created the Astro Zone, basically a ESPN type of sports recap show that was very entertaining last summer with a group, and it was just a lot of fun. We'd love to continue that going on again. It comes down to basically recruitment and making sure we're not spreading ourselves too thin at any given time, but we're always welcoming those opportunities. And in terms of college, at the college level, we have each year we get 1 or 2 college interns that either most of the time actually they may be out of state, maybe they're going to school in Maine or Massachusetts, but they'll come home for the summer and they'll fulfill their intern requirements at home, which is really neat. And again, we do get quite often. It just leads right to the other. Sometimes if the opportunity's there and they're not going back to school, they can become hired on. And they have been, so it's great.
And then this comes up I'm gonna get a little grief for this, but I've been questioned on this. So we have our system here, and then the SAU has theirs, which sometimes is a little bit
Crabbier.
lackluster. So just for the people at home, 2 separate, can you just elaborate on that, explain that?
Sure.
Please.
So the school channel is indeed a part of the franchise agreement, and the town as the franchise authority, technically it's in our wheelhouse, but historically, long before my time, basically we sort of subsidize, I guess it was, and it makes sense to have that the school channel's operation at the school. And then we've sent over a stipend per agreement at some previous time. And that's reflected in the budget every year.
So any capital improvements on that end will come out of your budget?
What we send over to them.
Right, so if they want to do a capital improvement there, they can come to you and then come
in terms of capital, I'm not sure what any original agreement was. Basically, as far as we've all been able to research, there's been one lump sum that's gone over every year to help support that channel there.
Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Temporary positions, there's an increase there, so you're anticipating having more paid help?
Yes, I believe what we're trying to do is work towards a model. As we're keeping an eye, Dave has been very generous with his time. We've worked together, and under his suggestion, built out a long-term, both capital and operating, taking into account a decrease over a 10-year period of decreases as cable cutters come into the mix. Side note, we have noticed a very stable trend, ticking up and down, so we're right where we want to be. And when we see that, that's an indicator that we want to move towards the model that we really need to provide the services we want. So there may be, in answer to your question, another production assistant added in, or what have you, and that's where we go from there. So that if that switch hits and we've got people knocking at the door, we've got opportunities.
Okay, so are these positions that are already filled, or it's something that you want to fill?
It would depend on which. We have open positions at this time.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
All
So mostly on the production assistant.
Yeah,
end of
okay.
things, which is the entry-level position.
And I know this is paid by the ratepayers. I get that. But we may want to just flag that for some other detailed conversation, if you don't mind.
Which number? I'm sorry, which role?
I think it's 120, temporary positions.
Okay.
Just want to get a better feel for the $8,500 increase there.
And if I may.
Yeah.
You might be, I'll get to that line, but one thing that we have increased as the demand increases, so we have basically a fixed rate or a per diem for our operators that we have here. when that number, we want to be ahead of that trend. We don't want to be surprised. And so if we have more events or meetings that need to be covered, that's where.
All right, so let me ask you this way. Is it additional people, or is the per diem cost increasing?
A quantity increase of those per diems.
Okay.
Based on.
All right.
So
Okay.
the number of meetings or events where a camera operator or a switcher like we have in the back of the room now is required, we want to make sure we've built in for that.
So it's not necessarily adding extra people?
Correct.
Okay. And then on the vehicle, I know you brought that up. Did you pick this number? I mean, what are you looking for a vehicle? So you said 75,000, so.
Vans with some upfitting for if we were going to upfit with network capabilities or auxiliary power, backup power, those sorts of things. So there's a little sort of a buffer, if you will, for those types of things.
But you haven't identified, you have not secured a van at this point?
Correct.
This is just something that's, if we wanted to, I'm just entertaining for a second, if we wanted to take this out, and then if you found the van halfway down, we could always do you have to do a supplemental on the cable, because it's a rate thing?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a supplemental, it'd be a resolution from the council transferring from cable fund balance to operations.
So we don't have to do a supplemental, right?
No, it'll be a one vote. Now, on the vehicle, Public Works recently purchased a couple of these similar vehicles for their HVAC people.
Yeah.
And so I know Owen's been eyeing them heavily to see if they make the need. So we think we have a good handle of the ballpark.
Do you think you're going to get one? Because vehicles are still sometimes a little bit difficult to get.
I suspect what's going to happen is the same thing we did at Public Works this past year, whereby all our vehicles used to be the same color, and now they're not anymore, because we have to buy them off the lot.
All right.
So I suspect we're doing the same thing with this one.
So it's not where we have a vehicle in store that could be utilized for him in a different department? An older vehicle?
Not of that caliber.
Okay.
We don't have those vehicles at that age. Right.
Just curious on that. I didn't know.
And when we have in the past, I think you might know this better than I, but there was a recycled ambulance that was once used in the TV station's history. And I think at this stage of the game, a lot of the equipment that we've got is sensitive. And I think the idea of using a sort of a hand-me-down vehicle, if you will, we want to have something clean and definitely up to the caliber to hold some of our sensitive equipment. I've been looking around, and to Dave's point, we could probably get something in. It might be baby blue, but from what I've been shopping around.
I don't really care about the color per se, but so I usually say this. I got my start. I know I probably said this so many times now, but I got my start in cable TV, where the old CVS was. That was Town Hall. And in the basement, we held the old broomstick, and we put it in the corner, and we just took a drape, and we put it, that was the studio, and I think the budget was like $10,000 at the time, and I was a young kid. I got on cable board, and we wanted to do robotic cameras for $30,000, and I had to get up in front of the town council. It was like, no, they're not going to give it to you. And sure enough, they did, and that was, I don't know how many moons ago that was way back. Anyway, it's come a long way. It's good. Keep doing a good job that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Will do.
Okay. So did you want to still flag that item, or you satisfied with the answer?
No.
Well, you said it's not additional people. You're just increasing.
Right. That if we let me make sure we're talking about the same line. But our camos, what we call camos and gamos, they're government access media operators, which we have one right in the back. Ben Morris doing a fantastic job switching the show, and then we have community access media operators, the camo position.
I'm just looking at that historic number. Like in 2022, actual was 58,127.
Yeah, basically filled it through COVID and certainly other, and it's been really tough to
So that was the
find
COVID.
and
Okay, all right, that
retain
makes sense.
help, absolutely.
All right. Yeah, just keep it flagged for now. I just want to have a couple more details. It's not a major thing, but.
Okay.
And then flag the vehicle as well, if you don't mind, just so I can have a little bit more thought on that. But
yeah,
I'm not saying you couldn't have one. I'm just saying.
Which time are you looking at with that, Constance?
760.
760. Okay.
Yep.
So 120 and 760 you want.
Right. And that 75,000 is a cost for, you're paying it outright for.
Correct.
You're not spreading it out, or you're not leasing
My
it.
initial research has shown the vehicle we really would like to target is around the 60,000. It's a Ford van
Yeah.
that would really support. So then if we had a 15K buffer for the specific upfitting we would need for a production vehicle,
Yeah.
I think it's actually on the lower end of an estimation.
All right.
Anybody else? Well, first, before we go that, so you guys do a great job, so thank you very much. I know we say this to you guys all the time, but you guys are everywhere around town. Wherever there's something going on,
You're there.
your department's there, or you're there. So
You're
thank you very
there.
much for upping the game the last few years. It's really getting better and better each year, so thank you very much.
It's been our
So-
pleasure. I need to thank you, this council, for your leadership and your vision. You understand the vision and how important it is to have these type of services, which may not always seem like a priority, but if you tune into the programming, if you visit DerryCAM.org, and even if you come in and schedule a tour and see what we're up to, I think you would really see the benefit in what we do, and hopefully the community at large does as well. We're happy to provide that service. So
great
I
for
also
the
need
kids,
to,
yeah.
before I'm remiss, to give great kudos and thanks to my dream team, Catherine Mashimo, Ben Morris, and Jackson Ratliff, among our many interns and volunteers that we have. They do a fantastic job every day. I tell them every day as much as I tell them what they need to improve on. So, I really want to see them shine, and the work that they do proves that, and the recognition we received shows the dedication that team, my team, submits. So,
Well, thank you very much. So, what's the bottom line? Anybody?
I'll move the bottom line for cable TV in the amount of $719,856.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Council Spencer, second by Council Katsouris, to move the bottom line of $719,856 with the two flag items of $120 and $760 to be revisited. On the motion, Council Chercello?
Yes.
Council Spencer?
Yes.
Council Katsouris?
Yes.
Council Flood?
Yes.
Council Grunesi?
Yes.
Council McEachran?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes, 7-0. Thank you, Owen.
thank you, councilors.
And last but not least, TIF districts. Mr. Karen.
I believe it's around page 471, and just for a refresher, TIF districts are tax increment finance districts which are approved by the council. We have two in Derry. The first one is Gateway, which used to be the Ash Street district. It was expanded about 2 years ago. And then we have the Derry Commerce Corridor TIF district, which was originally the Manchester Road where the Walmart development was, and infrastructure improvements on Manchester Road, and that was expanded by the council about 4 years ago to come down Crystal and down through the downtown. And so we renamed it the Commerce Corridor to provide some connectivity with those two commercial districts. Tax increment finance districts, essentially when they're adopted by the council, the tax base at adoption stays to support the town general services, the school, and the county. Any increase in value is known as the captured assessed value. You apply the entire town tax rate, including the school and the county, to that number. It generates the revenues. Use those revenues to implement the TIF district implementation and development plans. Now, for Derry Commerce Corridor, which is the one, again, through downtown up Crystal and over to Manchester Road to the Londonderry line, we have some significant operating expenses, which includes one full-time DPW employee costs are assigned to this TIF district. New this year is that we have, that number is actually now half a FTE. It was 0.25 last year. I didn't update that section. And that's shared with AC Park Trust to maintain Hood Park and the Alexander Carr Park. We also have a number of seasonal activities from trash removal. We also have sidewalk maintenance, street light expenses, street sweeping, banners, signs, and replacement of trees. Any kind of expenses which are specific and identifiable to the district are taken from the Derry Commerce Corridor TIF. Also, as I stated previously, it was originally the Route 28 North TIF district, and it was there to service that debt for infrastructure improvements. We have 10 years left, actually 9 years left on that debt, and the CFO last year refinanced that at 1.6% flat rate for the next 9 years. So the goal is to look at the development plan for the downtown, and any excess revenues are put into the redevelopment and infrastructure expendable trust fund, which is the council's the agents to expend, and it's to implement the plan further on down the road, including looking at a parking structure, and we also include about $75,000 a year to repave streets within the district. And to refresh your memories, the light blue is the original district, and you can see the intersection with Folsom, Shenito, and Crystal, that's where it ended. And then the green represents the boundaries which were expanded by the council to provide one contiguous district. Also, one of our thought process, you can see on Broadway, it sort of spreads out. We're looking long-term is to hopefully expand the depth of our commercial offerings downtown as opposed to just on Broadway. Regarding the gateway, really the only two expenses currently is for some marketing and for a share of the Economic Development Office. What we do with both districts is we look at the captured assessed value and we compare that against the town-wide commercial industrial tax base, and we therefore assign a portion of that Economic Development Office expenses to those two districts. In FY24, those expenses in Gateway, it's about $5,000 from the Gateway, and it's about $16,000 from the Dairy Commerce Corridor, which is transferred over to help with those general fund expenses. Now, most of the revenues in Gateway currently go into that development fund, and based upon the TIF district development plan, that we're looking at 3 major projects, which are also supported by the master plan. The master plan activities include looking at completing the rail trail once it gets through the 4A corridor to the Londonderry line. There will be some excess land on the north side of Folsom after 4A corridor is completed. That'll probably be in FY26. At that point, pursuant to state and federal law, since it was purchased with federal funds, any excess land is first offered to any state agency, and if they decline, then it's next offered to the town. At that point, I'd encourage the council to look at that area to see if there's any synergies for merging lots for the appropriate development on that side of the property. And the other one is, as you know, Folsom Road is 1 lane either direction for 2 lanes total. The corridor is going to be 6 lanes total. So we anticipate having to add a DPW employee and equipment to maintain that corridor, and that'll be paid for through the TIF district with not an impact on the tax rate. And here is the TIF district. You can see the original is in that purple color, and you can see the major expansion into yellow, which essentially connects up on the top right of this picture. It says Folsom. That connects and merges with the Dairy Commerce Corridor TIF district. You can see where it ends, and that large parcel below the word Tinkham is actually the police station. So we're trying to do some planning and position the town for further economic development in both those areas.
Questions? Councilor Charles.
I have no questions, but if anyone doesn't, Councilor McEachran's got questions. I was just going to say, this is $209,000 less than the previous budget, so. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Councilor.
Yeah, so I see in 2023, you had approved 1.176713, and you ended up at 2.152. You had an $845,000 increase at some point during 2023, as well as a legal line item that was 0 that went to 30,000. What did that cover?
Well, there are 2 things. One is that we are partnering with LMG out of North Carolina, Fort Lauderdale, on a massive development agreement to redevelop Abbott Court into a multi-use structure. The 845 represents the cost of designing the parking structure, which is currently underway. When the MDA is complete, that will reflect a proportionate sharing of that cost between the developer and the town. The other expense is that, as you know, the planning board the zoning board granted a variance for that project. It's been appealed, so therefore the legal costs are not going to the general fund, they're going against the TIF district budget.
All right, yeah, no, I just, again, having both books in front of me, I noticed that what was approved and what was finally, what was approved and then what came up is drastically different, but I also understand where you are this year, so just need a clarification, that's all.
Anything else? Council Spencer? Oh, thank you. All right.
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, on the TIF districts, $1,943,294.
Second.
Okay, motion to move the bottom line by Council Cherichello, seconded by Council Spencer. On the motion, Council Cherichello.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katz-Corris. Council Flood.
Yes.
Council Canesi.
Yes.
Council McEachern.
Yes, sir.
And the chair votes yes, 7-0. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before we conclude the evening, I need to say that I went by something that I thought was coming up later into capital improvement, and it's not. It was an OMO, so I wasn't 100% used to things being an OMO as opposed to CIP. We can do one of two things. You can flag the whole OMO and I can bring it back, or I can talk about it now and I'm going to flag it anyways. Yeah.
Ask the question.
I did talk to Dave earlier. I did notice, and I just want to make sure I understand, maybe either Dave or Mark, there's several items in here that are new. I do see the fire station on page 114 for 802, but is it showing up twice somewhere else? Because and then I see the culverts at 861 on page 116, but I'm just trying to get my head around the total increase. There's two big items, there's a bunch of small items with leases that came up. What are the big items that caused the delta?
The debt service is expense from OMO. So our debt service increased significantly this past year as the town issued $20 million in bonds. We issued $1.6 million for culverts, $18.4 million for the fire station. There were also, on the income side, there was a transfer, as Mark explained earlier, from the Fire Capital Reserve Fund to essentially fund that portion of the debt service, where essentially the town's investment in tax dollars for that project is about $750,000. So last year's $750 was placed into the reserve fund. We have this year's $750 into the reserve fund, and then about, I think Mark said, $1.484 is coming out to pay that debt service. That's the most significant change in the OMO. The other ones on the revenue side, as Mark explained, is that we've been fortunate to see a significant increase in our interest earnings. That's on the revenue side. And also the one you spoke of earlier is that Councilor Spencer mentioned was a transfer to capital reserve, which is $300,000.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure I was 100% understanding the $1.9 million round numbers.
Right.
$1.9 million increase because I saw 1.8. I will bring up now, and I will ask that it be flagged, line 96001, which is the 300,000 we just talked about. I know I talked about this at the council meeting. You have an additional 1.2 million approximately coming from overage going to fund that, right? Bringing the total to 1.5 million?
Yeah, what we've done, the current proposal is to use $1.2 million in unallocated fund balance under an existing council directive and $300,000 in tax dollars to fund the $1.5 million capital improvements plan. Now, as we all know, the $300,000 is sustainable. The 1.2 may not be. It all depends upon the performance of the budget from the previous year.
Right. So I'd like to have this line item flagged because, as I had stated in the last council meeting, and I just had to point so everybody knows, Dave and I have had a few discussions about this. I'd like to have an analysis done because I really feel strongly we need to increase this more than the total that's there, 300,000 now. The 1.2 million is not sustainable. It will not be sustainable in the future once inflation gets under control. You are not going to have $1.2 million to go from into the fund balance every year to move it over. And this move happened back in 2014 or so, 2015, when that council totally went away from utilization of the tax base to do this into unallocated fund balances. You've heard it from the administrator, and I 150% agree with them. It's unsustainable long-term. You won't have that money in the future, so you won't have money for capital improvements. Other than the dollar value you have here, $300,000, I'd like to ask that we explore some options on how to better balance that 1.5. In other words, take some more money and balance it differently. And we can look at why we have the 1.2 million overage now, and is that sustainable? We already know the answer is no. So what would a number be that makes sense? And then we're going to have to make up the other money somewhere else and figure out how to better balance this. Otherwise, 5-10 years down the road, you're not going to have any money there for capital improvements other than that $300,000 you've allocated. So future councils who won't have the ability to do things for the town. And as I said Tuesday night, it's not about me sitting here for these 3 years. It's about what the town can do 5, 10, 15 years down the road to make sure it's sustainable. I can't speak as to why the council back in 14 or 15 did what they did. It's not the right way to do budgeting. And I firmly believe we have to do something with that line item, and I think we need to allow Dave and Mark to come up with some options.
Okay, so we'll flag that and come back. Anything else?
I have a few more minutes, because you have to approve this budget. This is the capital improvements in the budget. It's on page 479. I want to give you a baseline, so then when the departments come in, predominantly police, fire, and public works, when they explain their capital improvements, you'll have an idea of how we fund it, what they're looking at. So essentially, most of the improvements are funded from our capital reserve fund. What we've done historically is an expense under $50,000, we just pay cash out of that budget. If it's over between 50 and 100, it's about a 5-year lease purchase. We try to look at 7-year lease purchases for anything over 100. Large, ladder trucks, anything like fire pumpers now are about 600 grand. We plan those over a 10-year lease purchase process. The only general fund appropriations in your budget is that the $1.5 million road program and highway, which Mike will speak to next week. The police cruiser lease purchase program is also in the budget. And again, we just discussed a $300,000 transfer of the capital reserve funds. To give you an idea, this is part of also the CIP presentation, looking at some of the different, the patrol division, commander SUVs looking to be replaced this year. We're looking at an EV model for that to test that out, see how it works in the rock conditions. There's new computer console furniture for the fire department dispatch, which will be transferred over into the new building upon completion. We have some additional patient movement devices, which are stretchers and stair chairs, and also replacing one of the 10-year-old fire prevention vehicles. Public Works, we talked about the 1.5 pavement management. Traffic signals, this is the 4th year of the $100,000 project at $25 a year to upgrade the technology and the traffic signals. And you can see there's a list of DPW vehicles which are taken from different funds, the parks, the highways, also some from the water and sewer departments. General fund, they're pretty much the lease purchase, and depending upon the cash flow and the fund balance of water and sewer, it's either, again, a lease purchase or else we just buy them outright. And expendable maintenance trust is something which the council approved, I would say about 5 or 6 years ago. It's a capital reserve for buildings. And of that $1.5 million on the current council policy, the first 15%, so it's about $185,000, or actually it's $225 goes into that fund and takes care of different improvements throughout the buildings, HVACs, carpeting, things of that nature. This year, we're looking at some additional security in the second floor for the building department, replacing the carpet on this floor, looking at, as Doug explained, the police department mobile backup systems, and looking at some security improvements and fire protection repairs over the transfer station. So just give you an idea, when these departments come in, you may want to ask them about those. You have interest, at least you have some background as to how we finance these improvements. So your next workshop is scheduled for Thursday at 7 o'clock, and that'll be dedicated to public safety with the fire department, the police department, and the animal control division within the police department.
Questions?
Second.
Okay, motion adjourned, seconded by Councilor Ganesi. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.